Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 905 for the 16th of August. And this SITREP I post a little bit earlier than usual. Usually I give the curse update, the Kudus update, a lot more runtime, but I want to see how the algo works. So this is going to be published earlier. Hopefully they don't kill each other. Then I will be so sad. But anyway, if not, I will still get killed by military summary or whip union. So he's the same. I just get killed either way. So anyway, I have already put out the Kudus update. The Kudus update already is out on the DPA's main channel. So do check it out. So which means that I will not be covering the Kudus update in this situation report because I don't want to repeat myself or the report was going to be very lengthy. So we're going to go in the anti-clockwise direction starting from the Kherson front or the Kherson front. And then so over at the Dnipro airport, there is a MiG-29 allegedly getting destroyed on the ground. So it was allegedly destroyed by a Iskander ballistic missile. So I do not know much about this. I didn't see the footage. So, but yeah, this being reported by the Russian side. Over at the Kherson front, at the Kherson area, the Russian forces attacked Dniprovsky to buy some bread. The bread they didn't manage to get the bread because the Ukrainians don't like them to eat bread. So that's it for this Dniprovsky region. We move into the Zaporizhia front. Over the Zaporizhia front, we only have one report along the entire front line over at Malatomashka. Reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about the Russians' attack in this region. That's some significant thing to note about this Malatomashka region is that it has been reported consistently for a long time now. You can see that the Russians are attacking in this direction, and I have no idea exactly where the attack come from and where the fighting is actually being done. Is it over here, or is it here along the highway, down the highway? No idea. There's no reports from anyone to clarify the situation about this area here. And I'm not sure if there is really some progress or whatnot. Would it be end up when by the time the reports, the intel dropped, the Russians are like this? Like I'm not sure it could this be the case, because it's ridiculous that we keep having all this report about fighting at Malatomashka and then we have nothing to talk about. Over at the Donetsk front, we have fighting reported mainly over on the eastern flank of this Donetsk front, and there is fighting reported in Krasnohorivka, in Georgivka or Hrodivka, over at Konstantinivka, as well as in the area moving towards or in the area of Konstantinivka. And there's nothing really much to talk about other than the previous report. In the yesterday's SITREP, we already mentioned the Russians have penetrated into the lower chopstick of the Krasnohorivka chopsticks. If you don't know what's a chopstick, the chopstick look like this. This is a chopstick. So they attack the lower chopstick, yeah, because they want to eat bread. But you don't eat bread with chopsticks. No, don't like that lah. No, later. Okay, over at the Voleda region, there is a geolocation of Russian forces in what is already mapped as under Russian control based on Russian mapping. This invalidates part of the Ukrainian mapping that the Russians have indeed come to this area here. So this means that from this very firm definite location, from the highway down, this entire road is around 2.5 kilometers from this Pivdeno-Donbaska 1 mine, coal mine. So this is pretty significant, but 2.5 kilometers, still some distance. We move on over at the FDFK front. At the FDFK front, we have fighting reported. Not a lot of places. Over at Zelenopole, Vozdivzenka, at Hrodivka, Novohrodivka, Zelane, as well as Pitishe. And so this is the few regions. So the main reason is because the Russian Defense Ministry did not do a daily report. In their yesterday's report, they do a weekly sum up. So as a result, we have no information from the Russian Defense Ministry in terms of this. We only have information by the Russian Defense Ministry on the latest situation over in the Kursk front. So on the Kursk front, so that's why there is a lack of arrows around here. If not, we'll probably see a lot more arrows because of a combination of the reports between the two defense ministries. So of significance, of course, is the Rhino, and the Rhino tongue got fatter. We over in the Mykolaiivka region based on the mapping by Deep State UA, and but in this area, most likely the Russians have already captured the entirety of Mykolaiivka, and the fighting is now already moving. Already moving towards Novohorodivka or Novohorodivka. Hrodivka. Yeah, I try to learn to pronounce it Ukrainian correct in terms of the pronunciation. But in Russian, this is just Novgorodovka. So anyway, Novohorodivka. And so this is ongoing. And it's significant that the Russians is attacking in both of these first boss at the same time. So let's see how this progress. In the Hrodivka region, based on latest geolocation, Russia and Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have captured the entire southeastern part of Hrodivka, and this means that the Russians have a firm foothold in this town or city, which means that they can now attack in all directions from this area here. So this is pretty significant that the Ukrainians are not really slowing down the Russians by much. The progress is pretty daily, so that's pretty concerning, I would say. Considering that this is the first boss, this is the first major town or city that is protecting Pokrov. Sorry. So Pokrov is over here. This is the Bakhmut part 2. So this is like Bakhmut. So the Russians taking this is a little bit like the Russians taking Soledar. So it's very significant. And then we're going to have Milograd, and this is going to be yet another major city. So anyway, we just going to continue to wait and see how this develops. Northern part, of course, is a pointless thing to talk about because the Russians not really actually making much movement over there, and we continue to get reports of fighting at Pitishe from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and our front line is nowhere close to this area. There must be some kind of mapping problems that is not revealing itself from the sources. Personally, I believe the front line is looking a bit like this. I think the Russians have already taken Komishivka, and they are now attacking into Pitishe. I think this is actually what happened in real life. We do have fighting reported at Zeleny, so which is why I think the situation looks more like this, in my opinion. But we don't have evidence for that, so this will remain as a rhinoceros. We move into the New York front. At the New York front, Russian forces is attacking in the region of Torex and New York. With fighting reported at Pivnishne, there is some major updates over there. Fighting towards Torex. In Zalizne region, we have significant update as well as the Russian forces from Zalizne move towards Nelipivka. Fighting reported at New York region and in Nelipivka or in the area of Nelipivka. So very significant. So let's look at the pincer. So the Russian forces has been geolocated in the west of Zalizne. They are now moving towards Nelipivka, as I have suggested weeks ago on how the Russians would do this operation. And there's a high chance that the Russians have already taken the entirety of this northern part of New York, and now that the fighting is now progressing into Nelipivka, and the Russians probably are still clearing the rest of New York. This is probably where the fighting of New York is reported, because if not, I'm not sure how do you get the fighting at Nelipivka. And this report is coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry themselves. The Ukrainians are talking about fighting at Nelipivka. The Russians previously has also talked about fighting at Nelipivka. So the fighting is definitely in the area of Nelipivka right now, and this operational encirclement is probably already almost now on. So that is the significant part about this area of the front line. And I don't think the Ukrainians are going to hold the defense around this salient much longer. There's no reason to hold the position. It's tactically forfeited. There's no way they can defend this area here unless they do a major counteroffensive to recapture New York or Zalizne. Otherwise, it's gone. It's a goner. So if not, you just lose a lot of soldiers, defending nothing. So based on this latest update, this frontline update, I have declared Zelizny captured by the Russian forces. So otherwise there's no more Zelizny left unless you want to count this not even a Dacha region. So so that's it from Zelizny. Over at the Thorax sector is also pretty significant. Russian forces continue to push towards Thorax, and particular over at Pivnishny. Russian forces have a salient into the high-rise zone. So we look at this area here in specifics. Russian forces have actually progressed and captured all these areas. These are firm capture based on Ukrainian mapping by Deep State UA. The gray zone is even more significant. In terms of the gray zone, the Deep State UA have drawn like this, which means that they claim that the Russian forces have basically entered and penetrated into this high-rise zone already. But we shall wait and see. We shall wait and see how this develops. There's literally no videos or whatnot coming out from this region here. The mapping is purely coming from the Ukrainian side. The Russian mapping isn't even as bullish as this. So, which means that the fighting has basically arrived at Thorax from this eastern sector, because I believe this high-rise zone is part of Thorax. So, pretty significant development. And with this, we are looking at a potential encirclement again, because the Russians can quickly push through the Dacha region and create an encirclement around the Pivnishny region. So we shall see how this goes. Pretty significant update. Over at this southern part of the Bakhmut front, Ukrainian Defense Ministry talk about Russian forces attacking towards Bilakhora and Dilievka. So again, I do not know what the hell is happening. I wonder if there is already some kind of advancement from the Russian side away from the canal on the western bank of the canal. Again, there's no update, so we have to wait regarding the frontline change of this. In the central flank, Russian forces are still attacking Chasivya and Hrodivka. These are probably just skirmishes. I don't think these are offensive, because I said before many times, there's no reason to take Chasivya. Over at the Sivers front, Russian forces continued the Sivers offensive with fighting reported at Verkhan-Okanyamsky, Spirny, as well as Berezny. So this continues to be the offensive direction. But no updates, so that's all we know. We move into the Kremina front. At the Kremina front, Russian forces attacking at Torske, Nevsky, as well as, what's this? Forgot. Makievka. So, and of significance was the geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the area of Makievka. They are geolocated on the western bank of the river, of the Zerabets River. There's also Ukrainian forces geolocated in Izumske, pretty far away. So these are just artillery shellings. The one at Izumske is a Lancet hitting a Kozak armored fighting vehicle. So that's all from this area. Over at the Svetove front, we have fighting reported in Andriivka and in the direction of Lozova. And this is reported by the Ukrainian side. They say that the attack in the direction of Lozova is still ongoing. I suspect the battle actually comes from Novoselivsky region, and I believe this is the attack. If not, it doesn't really make much sense, because the Ukrainians have Stemekivka and Mesozarivka. So there is no way to, there's no reason to say fighting in the direction of Lozova where the fighting is at Stemekivka. So most likely this is a totally new vector of attack, which coming from Novoselivsky. So this is pretty significant, if you ask me, in the direction of Lozova. And if the Russians manage to do this, they are basically flanking the rear positions of these very strong Ukrainian lines. And from here, they can also pincer towards Senkove crossing from Pischany as well. So this is pretty significant if they manage to capture Lozova. So that's all from this sector. We move into Pischany region. As we mentioned earlier, Russian forces indeed is pushing towards the Senkove crossing, towards Krylevkivka. And they are also fighting towards Kulishivka as we speak from the Pischany region. So we shall wait and see how this goes. I suddenly feel like this looks like a turtle. No, it's like a turtle head. So anyway, so the turtle head want to eat some Senkove. because they think it's some kind of vegetable. So that's all. There's nothing else over at the Kupiansk front. We move into the Kharkiv front. The Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have the usual. We are fighting reported at Voschansk and the Lipsy region. And that's all. There is no much details. This has become a firm front line and looks like the Russian offensive did not really start. Or at least that's what I feel. Because previously we have a lot of reports. I thought that there was some kind of push. But it seems like that's not the case. The Russian forces came all the way to this direction. So let's see. Is this a geolocation? Or geolocation is here. Yeah, this is geolocation. Yeah. So let's wait and see whether is this a real offensive because of the push that we have over the Lipsy sector. Previously, we have the fighting reported in this direction. They are pushing. So, but if there's no more frontline changes, then I don't think this is a real offensive. So that's all from the Kharkiv front. And as the Kursk front, I already given the update. If I just can give you a quick one, is that the Ukrainians have blown the bridge over at Grushkov. What's the name again? Grushkovo. So as a result, this entire area here is now compromised because of this explosion. The entire line here is compromised because there's only one major crossing. So the Russians is now putting pontoon crossings. They try to reinforce the line. If not, the border region is not going to be defended. Ukrainians are shelling Tetkino. They are attacking towards the crossing over here at Hrodivka. And the Ukrainians try to push north, but they are blocked by the Russian side. They are also blocked over at the Kalinovo side. The Ukrainians are now trying to push out of Sudzha, also blocked. They are trying to push in the Chikaskoye Poroshnye, also blocked by the Russians. And the Russians are now counter-attacking over in the southern flank. And that's basically the situation right now. Yeah, maybe you may not be able to see clearly. So let me change the mapping. Yeah, so you can now see it clearer now. So the Ukrainians are pushing the established front line, the established incursions. The front line has pretty much solidified and becoming harder and harder, more and more rigid, and the Ukrainians are struggling to push out. So, which is why now we are seeing this new development, and this is where the main focus, one of the main things that I will be talking about in the Kursk update. So check it out. The link is over here. Otherwise, this is the frontline changes report. No, this is the situation report. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.